Hi, I'm Connie, and I am making a video about living with post-concussion syndrome long term. I want to say and shout out some props to Kat, who was really inspirational. You can just uh, search living with post-concussion syndrome on YouTube, and you'll find her video and some others. Um, First, my story of my concussion and how long I've been living with it. My concussion occurred in June of 2015, and this video is I'm making this video in September of 2018, so that can tell you how long I've been living with this. I have some other factors, though. They'll tell you everybody is different. Living with this injury or disease. I have multiple sclerosis. Uh, the I, you can call it the mildest kind, relapsing or remitting. Um, I I was diagnosed with that in 2012, but I never really suffered any really serious, debilitating issues with that. So with that in mind, that's kind of operating in the background. Um, my life before all that, and I am a history professor at a junior college in Texas. Um, I was an active cyclist and triathlete, just sort of, mediocre in talent, but that's was a very big part of my life, and I was in the time I was diagnosed, or when I first had my symptoms for MS. I was at the fittest of my life. So you'll understand later why I feel the way I do now. I was 123 fighting pounds. I could swim all day. I could bike all day. Running, well, I've never been a great runner, but I had completed a couple of half marathons. So I could do a sprint, which is the shortest triathlon and the only ones I'd ever done, with no problem. So I was had just turned 50, and was looking forward to what we call aging up the following triathlon season, and was looking forward to doing some longer distance when in October, and this is all MS, I woke up with just a little bit of numbness in my face, and it didn't go away. Went to the doctor the next day, and he ruled out Bell's palsy, and his only advice is, well, it'll get better or it'll get worse. That's wonderful. But when I saw my chiropractor on Friday of that week, and I was describing some of the symptoms, I said something, and that clicked in his head. He said, no, that's not right. He said he was thinking that the one of the nerves in the face, the fifth cranial nerve, was the one involved, and one of the symptoms I described didn't fit. So he got on the phone right away, and he contacted a neurologist, and he got me in to see her pretty quick. And she put me through some tests, and a month later I got the phone call that I had this disease, and at the time it was quite alarming. I didn't know anything about MS. It took me a couple of years to get medications and all sorts of things straightened out for treating that disease. So I was beginning to relive my life. I was cycling again. I was running. This is Texas though, so and being a professor, a teacher, the one time I had that was really free to do all this was summer, and so with the heat in Texas, that posed a problem, because with MS, one is not supposed to exercise or do any of these things in the heat of the summer. Nevertheless, I had kept up my membership in my cycling team, and although I'd never really, done too many races, and certainly with the MS, I wanted to be careful, but I wanted to do something for the team, and so that June, we had the Texas Time Trial Championships in South Texas, in Hempstead, which is not too far south, just north of Houston, and I did the time trial, even though I was very slow, because I had lost a lot of fitness, gained weight. That's a side effect of many of the medications I was taking, and it's supposed to be a safe race, and I was just, pedaling along, getting past, but, if I finished the race, I was going to get some points for my team, and so I would be able to contribute. So I was just tooling along on a nice country road, and the next thing I remember, I woke up in an ambulance with my neck in a brace and strapped to a backboard, and a paramedic about to cut off my kit, which was brand new, and they took me to the hospital and put me through a whole bunch of tests, and then gave me an exit sheet and sent me out the door. And luckily for me, 4 of my wonderful teammates were there waiting for me, and they took care of me, got my prescriptions and everything, and nobody ever said, no doctor that I can remember. Now remember, this is a concussion we're talking about. Nobody ever said concussion, and one of my friends reading the sheet said, it says here you've got a concussion. And I had been out for 30 minutes, so that qualifies as a pretty serious concussion. And in the following week, when I returned home, since I had MS, I already had a neurologist, and I also had facial fractures, by the way, thanks to my helmet, thank God. No brain or no skull fractures, but I had to see a plastic surgeon about the facial fractures, had to see an eye doctor because I had a scraped cornea, and eventually, on my own, after a couple of months, I saw a dentist because I kept having pain in my jaw, and I guess it was injured and had something like TMJ. But all these factors combined, nobody ever really gave me the lowdown on a concussion, and I received absolutely no concussion-specific treatment. And I've learned since that that's pretty important if you have a concussion, is to get some specific treatment, particularly with PCS. And so I had migraines, I had vertigo, memory loss. I couldn't stand, any sorts of sounds and lights, which if you got this, you understand that. Serious fatigue. And what was happening, guys, is that the one way in which MS has affected me is MS acts, in my own words, as a sort of amplifier. Anytime you have inflammation of any sort, MS will sort of amplify it, and pain, it will do the same thing. So maybe I'm a special case, maybe not. But I couldn't read, which as a historian and a teacher, you can understand that's quite a handicap. Nevertheless, I was trying to prepare for the fall semester, but the symptoms were just too bad, and thankfully my bosses were extremely understanding and helpful, and they put their heads together and found a way for me to be able to take the semester off. So basically, I was out of work for 7 months, for which I couldn't read, I couldn't really function. But after getting treatment for the eye and the jaw, so forth, I was more functional, and I was able to return to work in January of 2016. In order to save time, I'm going to make this the end of part 1 of my video, but I will continue the story dealing with the aftermath, and bring us up to present date with my PCS in the second video.